Hey, welcome in. We have a fun recent game from the Swedish Blitz Championship played on January 1st, 2023, between Elham Abdrlauf and Thomas Hogberg. Sorry if I mispronounced those, they'll be in the description. I looked for uncommon openings. It was a short game I wanted to review. And here we had a common opening. White started with e4, but black responded with something called the Owen defense or Owen's defense, which is pawn to b6. White is happy here to play d4. Since black allowed it, white is kind of controlling all of these squares nicely in the center. And now black plays the purpose of b6, which is fianchettoing his bishop on b7. So now the bishop is attacking this pawn, which is undefended. White defends the pawn by developing a piece with knight to c3. Now the pawn is defended. And black kind of continues playing with e6. White responds by getting his... Ooh, I flipped the board accidentally. White responds by getting his bishop out, adding another defender to this pawn. Black plays d6. White develops another piece. Black develops his knight, and white castles kingside. Already, this looks like a better position for white. 3 pieces out to 2 pieces. White's king is castled. White has 2 pawns in the center of the board, and black also has 2 pawns in the center of the board, but they're only in the 6th rank. So already, this is starting to look like a better position for white. Here, black played e7, and this queen e7, and this is not a great move. You'd rather put your bishop here, and now the bishop can kind of have free range along this diagonal. When you put your queen here, it sort of hems in the bishop and potentially the knight. So not a great move, but it's likely that black was trying to sort of get away from a threat, and white kind of created that very early threat by playing rook to e1. Always a good idea to get your rook on the same file as the queen and the king. Black responded with h6, which I'm honestly not sure about, and then white played queen to e2. Now we have this nice dual x-ray on the queen and the king, and in response, black just castled queenside. This is actually a very big mistake, and it seems like it gets the king out of harm's danger, but the problem is now you have 2 kings castled on opposite sides, the king side and the queen side, and these are very exciting games, very attacking games. Now both sides are going to try to go and checkmate the other king. Black is not really in a position to try to checkmate the white king. These pieces are undeveloped. He sort of has these pawns here, but this knight isn't going to help. These pieces are not developed. The rooks aren't connected, whereas white is in a better position. He has 2 pawns in the center. These pieces are developed. The bishop is ready to jump into the game. The rooks will be connected. These pawns are ready to march forward. So better position for white here, and white jumps into the attack right away now that he knows which side black is castling on with bishop to a6. White wants to exchange these bishops because this, light square dark bishop on b7 is doing a great job defending the king, so white would love to trade that off. Black tries to get his knight over to the defense of the king and also puts a double attack on the bishop by playing knight to b8. So white takes the bishop and black takes back. And now we have the move that the computer actually likes the move before, which is a4, trying to march his pawn up and kind of break open the king side, and black responds with a5. The computer likes a6 here a little bit better. Keeps the pawns closer to the king, but also sort of meets this a4 move. But black tried to just went and closed the position and prevented white from advancing the pawn any further. Now white develops his last piece, gets his bishop into the game. It's ready to go on the attack, and soon this pawn will move and the bishop will have free reign. Black, instead of developing a piece, maybe this is better, gets his knight closer to the defense of the king so it can help kind of defend the oncoming attack. And white brings his queen to a very threatening square on c4. So now the queen is on the c file and is ready to kind of go after this king. Black finally develops another piece by playing knight to f6, but white takes the opportunity to push d5. This is a tricky move. You probably don't want to go into takes here because the rook is lined up to the queen, so there's the potential for discovered attacks with this rook. You probably don't want to open up the center of the board. The best move here, according to the computer, is knight to b4. The idea is that we protect this c6 square because right now the queen is threatening a very nasty check, being protected by the pawn. But black decided against that, and black just decided to try to close the position with e5. But this is a huge mistake because it allows white a very nice attack, which white kicks off by playing knight to c6 with check. The king is checked, it's protected by the pawn, and black is now on the run. Here black played king to a7, not the best move. You want to retreat your king to the 8th rank, but I guess he sort of wanted to keep it close to the knight and protecting the knight, I suppose. But this allows knight to b5 with tempo, This comes with check, and now the king only has one move because the queen is cutting off these diagonal squares. The king must retreat to b8. So now you've got a couple of pieces around the king, and you're trying to find a way to continue the attack, but it's a little bit tricky because you do have these pawns that are nicely aligned here. Obviously, one threat you would like to consider is queen takes on c7, but this is protected by both the knight and the queen, and the king for that matter. So that won't work. So see if you can find the move here that continues white's attack and keeps the pressure on. Okay, so hopefully you found the sacrifice that keeps the pressure on for white. It is bishop takes on b6. And this is a nice move. You're not necessarily threatening, this queen, like if black just played a silly move like g6, you're not necessarily threatening this checkmate because the knight can still take, or even if you take first with the bishop, sorry, that's not what I want to do. Even if you take first the bishop, no, I don't know what. Even if you take first the bishop, sorry, silly move, bishop takes, knight takes, queen, this is still fine for black. You're just down a piece. So you're not necessarily, like, that was a long way to say, like, you're not threatening this pawn necessarily. But, if you do play a silly move as black, then the bishop can take on a5. This king side is now totally open. The queen is attacking the knight. There's still pressure on this pawn. So you kind of have to take the bishop. So black captures the bishop. But this allows for a very difficult check to block or to stop, which is queen on b6. And now, you're forking the knight and the king. You're obviously checking the king, but you're attacking the knight. The only real opportunity to defend here black has is queen to b7 blocking. But obviously, you don't want to trade queens here. You'd much rather take the free rook, which is what white would do. So, taking the rook, checking the king. King has no squares to go to, so you have to block with the queen. And after a queen trade, white is much better here. White's up a rook for a bishop. White has all of his pieces developed. He has 2 extra pawns that are ready to advance, and black's king is totally in the open. White's king is totally safe. So this is a super winning position for white, and that's why after bishop takes on b6, black resigned the game, because even if you take this bishop, you are losing your rook and pawns, and it is big trouble. So after this bishop move, black resigned, white won the game. And just kind of a good reminder to develop your pieces and make sure you're not castling into any threats, because those threats can just totally ruin a position. We'll see you next time.